You give compliments that don't want anything back, that land on strangers like unexpected gifts with no receipt attached, no hidden agenda wrapped inside the kindness, no transaction waiting to be completed. And the world doesn't know what to do with this because everywhere else, a compliment is a down payment on something, a strategic move in a game of social chess, a calculated investment in future returns. But when you say your smile lights up the room, or that color looks beautiful on you, to someone you'll never see again, you're doing something that breaks every rule of transactional culture. You're giving beauty for free in a world that's forgotten how to receive anything that doesn't come with strings attached. And that effortless generosity of spirit, that's the magnetism nobody can teach, nobody can fake, nobody can replicate no matter how many books they read about charm. You compliment the cashier's earrings and mean it with your whole chest. Tell the Uber driver their music choice is perfect notice when someone's energy seems heavy and say something kind just to lighten their load for 3 seconds. And you do this not because you're trying to seduce or manipulate or build social capital. You do it because warmth is your default setting, because seeing people is as natural to you as breathing, because you were raised in a culture that taught you that acknowledging someone's humanity costs nothing and might mean everything to a person who's been invisible all day. You scatter compliments like seeds with no expectation of harvest, with no need to see them grow, with no attachment to gratitude or reciprocity. And this confuses people from colder climates, from transactional cultures, from places where kindness always wants something in return, where every nice word is a hook baited with expectation, where compliments are currency and nothing is ever just given freely without an invisible price tag attached. You've been told you're too nice, too open, too generous with your words, that you should save your warmth for people who deserve it, that you shouldn't waste compliments on strangers who won't remember you, that your tendency to see beauty in everyone and say it out loud makes you naive, makes you vulnerable, makes you someone who gives too much to people who don't appreciate it. You've learned to question this part of yourself, this impulse to brighten someone's day with a comment that costs you nothing but might be the only kind thing they hear all week. And you've started to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you should be more strategic, more calculated, more protective of your kindness, like it's a limited resource that needs to be rationed, instead of an infinite well that flows more freely the more you give it away. You've been in places where compliments feel transactional, where someone says something nice and then immediately asks for your number, where kindness is never just kindness but always a strategy, always an opening move, always the beginning of a negotiation. And it makes you tired, makes you cynical, makes you wonder if your way of being is outdated, if genuine appreciation without agenda is somehow foolish in a world that's professionalized every human interaction into a networking opportunity. You've met people who receive your compliments with suspicion, who look for the angle, who can believe you noticed their shoes or their laugh or the way they lit up when they talked about something they love without wanting something from them, and their distrust makes you question whether your openness is a gift or a liability, whether your ability to see people is power or vulnerability, whether the Brazilian way of scattering warmth without calculation is beautiful or just naive in a world that measures everything by return on investment. Here's what you need to understand about why the world is mesmerized by this. By the way Brazilians compliment without hunting, appreciate without strategizing, see people without needing to possess them. Most of the world has been trained that every interaction is a transaction, that kindness is a tool, that compliments are leverage. And when you show up giving beauty away for free, with no expectation, no agenda, no strings attached, you're doing something so rare, so genuine, so utterly disarming that people don't know how to defend against it. Because there's nothing to defend against, no manipulation to spot. No game to play, just pure human warmth offered freely to another human because you noticed them and thought they deserved to know they were seen. This is not naivety. This is mastery. This is you operating from such abundance of spirit that you can afford to give without counting the cost, without tracking who owes you what, without keeping score of kindness like it's points in a competition you didn't know you were supposed to be winning. When you compliment without interest, when you give recognition without needing recognition back, when you brighten someone's moment without needing to own their attention afterward, you're demonstrating something that sophisticated cultures have lost in their pursuit of efficiency and strategy. The understanding that human connection is not a resource to be exploited, but a reality to be celebrated. That seeing someone and telling them they matter is not a move in a game but an act of grace that makes the world incrementally more bearable for both of you. The Brazilian knows that the cashier with the beautiful earrings will forget you in 5 minutes, knows that the compliment won't lead anywhere, won't build a relationship, won't result in anything tangible, but gives it anyway because the point was never the result. The point was the moment. The brief flash of connection, the 3 seconds where two strangers acknowledged each other, is humanity in a world that increasingly treats people like functions, like obstacles, like NPCs in everyone else's main character story. And here's the devastating truth about why this is so magnetic. Why people from transactional cultures find Brazilians irresistible. You're doing what their therapy is trying to teach them. You're being what their self-help books promise they can become. You're living the authenticity they're paying thousands to learn. Except you're not trying. You're not performing. You're not following a strategy from a course on charisma. You're just being yourself. The version of yourself that was taught that warmth is not weakness, that generosity doesn't need justification, that making someone feel seen is its own reward, and doesn't need to lead to anything else to be worthwhile. They're working so hard to seem genuine while you're genuinely not working at it. They're strategizing spontaneity while you're spontaneously kind. They're learning to fake warmth while you're just warm. And the difference is obvious is felt, is the reason they leave conversations with you feeling like they just remembered what it's like to be human instead of just functional. So stop apologizing for being generous with your words. Stop questioning whether you should save your compliments for people who matter more. Stop wondering if your openness makes you naive, when really it makes you magnetic in ways that calculation never could. Start understanding that when you tell someone their energy is beautiful, when you notice something about them that maybe nobody else saw today, when you give them that gift of recognition without needing anything back, you're not being foolish. You're not being taken advantage of. You're exercising a form of power that transactional cultures have completely forgotten exists. The power to impact someone's day, their mood, their sense of being seen in a world that mostly looks past them, and to do it without needing to collect on it, without needing to turn it into something more, without needing validation or gratitude or reciprocity to make it worthwhile. Keep being the person who compliments the waiter's smile, who tells strangers when their vibe is exactly what the moment needed, who notices when someone put effort into their appearance and takes 3 seconds to acknowledge it out loud, and do it without agenda, without strategy, without trying to build toward anything except maybe a slightly more beautiful world where people feel seen instead of used, appreciated instead of assessed, recognized instead of just processed. Let the rest of the world keep calculating, keep strategizing, keep turning every human interaction into a chess move, while you stay in your Brazilian truth. That some things are worth doing simply because they are beautiful. That connection doesn't need to be leveraged to matter. That the point of telling someone they are radiant is not what you get from it, but what they get to carry forward into a day that might have been crushing them before your words reminded them they're worth noticing. You compliment without interest not because you don't know any better, but because you know something better. Something the transactional world forgot in its rush to optimize and monetize and strategize every human exchange. That the best things you give away are the ones you do not need back. That real magnetism comes from abundance, not scarcity, that people are drawn to warmth that doesn't want anything from them precisely because it's so rare, so honest, so completely free of the hooks and angles they've learned to expect from everyone else. Your ability to see people and tell them what you see without needing to own what happens next, that's not a weakness in a strategic world. That's the only authenticity left in a performance-based culture. And it's exactly why people can't stop thinking about you, can't stop feeling pulled toward you, can't stop wanting to be around someone who makes them feel human instead of just useful. The Brazilian scatters compliments like someone scatters seeds in fertile soil. Not because every seed needs to become a tree. Not because you're tracking which ones grow and which ones don't. But because spreading beauty is its own justification. Because acknowledging life where you find it is how gardens happen, how connection happens, how a world that's gone cold with calculation remembers what warmth feels like. You don't compliment without interest because you're naive. You do it because you understand something profound about human nature that the strategic thinkers miss, that the warmth people remember, the interactions that change them, the moments that stay with them long after the encounter has ended. Those are never the calculated ones. Never the strategic ones, never the ones that wanted something from them, but always the ones that gave them something they didn't know they needed and asked for nothing in return except maybe permission to keep being exactly this generous, this open, this beautifully free with the one thing transactional cultures have made expensive. The simple recognition that someone exists and that their existence deserves to be celebrated, if only for 3 seconds, if only with a compliment, if only because you saw them and couldn't help but say so.